All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Kristen. I am a physical therapist here at LVE, for those of you that do not know me. And today we will be talking about the basics of the core. So our objectives today, we'll be talking about what makes up the core, how to engage your core, how do you know if your core is weak, and how can rehab and fitness help you if your core is weak. So we're going to talk about the muscular box. This is kind of that general area of what makes up the core. So you have your abdominal muscles obviously in the front. That's what most people think about when we say the word core, but that is not all that makes up your core. In addition to the abdominal muscles, you have your paraspinals, which is the muscles that align the spine. You have your gluteal muscles. You have your diaphragm, which plays a very large role in your core. And then you have your pelvic floor and the hip musculature to support the bottom of the core. So with all of that, it kind of creates almost like a box that is helping to protect what we would call your axial skeleton, your spine, your pelvis, your rib cage, all of that, and support a healthy lifestyle. So the muscle groups that make up the core, we have both stabilizers and movers. Your stabilizers are typically deeper muscles, and they are those muscles that are going to stabilize the pelvis and mostly the lumbar spine, but it's going to kind of help prevent injury to those bones and areas and keep everything nice and stable while you are doing any type of movement. Then you have your movers, which are more superficial. That's what you think about, more of those abdominal muscles that you can visually see on some people, specifically like athletes, those six-pack abs. Those are going to be the muscles that are more for more power and moving. Typically, the muscles that align the spine, and again, the muscles of the superficial abdominal region that you can typically see on people, in addition to the hip musculature. So the stabilizers, very important, and these are muscles that a lot of people tend to lack strength in. Because it's one of those use it or lose it type of things. So starting with the pelvic floor, kind of working our way up, the pelvic floor is going to be your foundation, like if you think of a house. So you've got to pour the foundation first. This is the stuff that's going to support your abdominal contents. Of course, it has a lot to do with incontinence, sexual function, and breathing. And then if you move up from there, you have your deepest abdominal muscle, which is the transverse abdominis. And this is the corset of the body. So when it contracts, it's kind of squeezing everything together, stabilizing the lumbar spine, and just keeping that really stable and protecting the spine while you're doing any type of movement. Deep to the back is the multifidus. And these are small muscles that attach one vertebrae to the other. They are not muscles you can see or really feel, so they are really hard to get to, and a lot of times they are weak. So that's something that, like I said, gets weak very easily and is hard to activate sometimes. Moving further up is your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is like an umbrella. When you breathe correctly, it kind of flattens and then comes back up. So it actually is kind of like the roof, and it kind of connects everything with your pelvic floor and your abdominals to keep everything stable and keep everything in alignment. It is very important. So how do we engage the stabilizers? It a lot of times starts with learning how to breathe correctly. So we are going to practice diaphragmatic breathing. So you're going to place one hand on the middle of your upper chest and one hand on your belly. You're going to breathe in through your nose and out through pursed lips. So that means when you inhale, Your belly should go out, okay? Not your chest. This is chest breathing. My belly goes in, my chest goes out. That is incorrect. When you breathe correctly, your belly should go out and your chest should not move a whole lot. And then when you exhale, your belly should go in. That is the correct way of breathing. A lot of people do not breathe correctly. And when you breathe correctly, that is your diaphragm working. If you're not breathing correctly, you're using accessory muscles up in the neck and upper chest to help you breathe, which is not efficient for gas exchange in the lungs. When it comes to the transverse abdominis, we think of bringing the belly button into your spine. So I always tell people, like, if you've got a pair of pants from last summer that you're trying to fit into and they're too tight, you're going to suck in your belly to try to button those pants. That simple movement of sucking in the belly is activating that deepest abdominal muscle, and that is the stabilizer. You can also make the sound shh, 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 and when you do that, you are activating that muscle. Sometimes in therapy, we use a balloon, blowing up a balloon to activate that as well. So it's just some good techniques to activate that deep stabilizing muscle. For the pelvic floor, most people have heard of a Kegel. A lot of people don't do them correctly. If you're unsure what it is or how to do it, please come see us. But a lot of times we tell females, you know, to activate those muscle groups, you want to pretend like you're stopping the flow of urine. For a male, a lot of times we say, you know, like you're trying to hold in gas or, you know, trying not to go to the bathroom. That is lifting the pelvic floor up. A lot of people tend to push it down, and that's placing stress on that whole area that can lead to incontinence and instability of the abdominal contents. So we want everything to lift up and stabilize and hold everything in. That is one of the harder ones to activate. Lastly, the multifidus. This one's a little bit difficult to activate as well, but with specific positions we can. Again, these are the deep back muscles, deepest layer, closest to the spine, connecting each vertebrae to each other. And a lot of activation with this exercise occurs in quadruped. That is when you're on your hands and knees. Please do not try this if you don't think you can get into this position. If you're unsure, please come see Rehab or Melissa and Emily in Fitness, and they can help you with that, or we can help you with that. But this is kind of a more advanced activity that we would get to in progressing your core strength and stability. The pelvic tilt is a basic exercise we usually start with, both in rehab and in fitness. It is a basic activation and mobilizer of the pelvis, utilizing the transverse abdominis, that deep core muscle. When you do this, you're typically lying on a firm surface. The floor is ideal. If you can't get on the floor, your bed would be the next best option, or the mat table in the gym. Basically, what you would do for this is you're in a hook-lying position with your legs up like this lady here, and you're trying to flatten your low back against the surface. It's important to make sure that the abdominal muscles are activating rather than using your glutes and your legs to push your pelvis back. Again, this is kind of it's a basic yet a complex exercise. So if you're unsure about how to do this or what this even means, please come see us. And then of course there are progressions to this as well. Quadruped exercises, this is going to be more advanced. It requires a lot of stability of the core because you're your body is in space, you don't have your back stabilized against a surface, which would be helping you stabilize. So if you have never done these type of exercises, again, please come see us or fitness and let us help you with this, because these are more advanced and there is a risk for injury if you are not doing them the right way. But this would be a progressive exercise that we would want to get you to if you were in therapy or working with fitness. So, is your core weak? If you feel like you don't deep breathe, or you notice a lot of neck activation or chest movement with your breathing, you're having difficulty getting in and out of bed, your posture is poor, back pain, incontinence, or you just are not sure how to stabilize your core when you're exercising, then your core is probably weak. So the good news is we can address all of this. Depending on what your needs are, we will get you set up with a physical therapy or occupational therapy evaluation. And what we will do is we will assess the activation of the muscles, the function and endurance of the muscles, what the muscle length is. Are you too tight? Are you too loose? And you know, are there some muscles that are working and some not? We will figure that out on assessment. From there, we will create a program to progress you through each stage and difficulty of these core muscle groups, eventually getting you into a functional program, such as picking up things from the floor, getting in and out of bed, you know, more functional things that you're doing in your daily life, and incorporating core stabilization into those activities. Now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa to talk about how our fitness program can help with core strength and stability.
Thank you, Kristen. I am Melissa, your Director of Fitness, and I'm going to sort of pick up where Kristen left off. She left off on how Rehab can help with your core strength and developing core strength if you're feeling that you're weak in that area. I'm glad Kristen went over the major muscle groups that are involved in the core, because it's not just the abdominals. It's our lower pelvic floor, it's our obliques, our spinal muscles, glutes. All of those muscles are involved in our core. As far as fitness goes, we do offer a specific class that is geared towards enhancing the strength of your core muscles. That class is done by Emily, who is our fitness trainer, every Tuesday at 10:30 in the atrium. This class is designed to improve balance, posture, stability, and the good thing about this class is that all of the exercises are done standing. So there is no floor work required, which makes them safe and accessible while still effective. In this class, you can use the chair as a support system. So if you do feel that you need that extra support for balance and stability, you can always use the chair. So I would like to demonstrate just a handful of exercises that are included in that class, just to give you an idea of what to expect if you were to show up to that class. So if you want to stand up with me, you can stand up, or you can do these exercises in your chair. That's perfectly fine. So they can be done seated or standing. So I'm just going to sort of step to the side here. And the first exercise we have is designed to sort of stretch out the spine, warm up the obliques, and just get you ready for a good workout. So if you're standing, you're going to stand with your feet about hip width apart. If you're seated, you're going to sit with your feet about hip width apart, just to give you that stabilizing set. You're going to pull your belly button in. We're going to bring our hands down by the side, and I'm sure you've seen this. You're going to raise one arm, pulling your navel into your spine, and then squeezing one side. You're going to reach over. You're going to feel a stretch on the side where the arm is reaching over. Now the side that is here where the arm is down, you're pulling that abdominal muscle in, that oblique muscle in. You're making sure to keep the shoulder open and the abdominals in tight. Then you're going to inhale, lift, exhale, lower. And then you want to repeat on the other side. So it's an inhale, lift, pulling the navel into the backbone, keeping the knees soft. Make sure that's important, especially if you're standing. Then you're going to pull that opposite oblique in and you're going to reach over, keeping that shoulder open so you don't want to fall forward. You want to work on that shoulder strength also because standing up tall is really important to supporting our core. And then you're going to inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. So you want to do about 10 on each side of those for a warm-up. That's something that you may see in the core class. You may see it in the warm-up or you may see it at the very end as a stretch. The next exercise is torso rotations. Again, you can do this in your chair or you can do this standing, okay? If you do it standing, be very careful because we're going to be rotating through the waist and we're going to be engaging our oblique muscles. Now, you can do it with your hands on your shoulders. If you're going to do that, watch out that you don't fall forward. Keep the chest open. You can also do it with your hands out, okay? So I'm going to start with my hands on my shoulders. Okay, again, you can do this in the chair, and you're going to bring opposite elbow to opposite knee. So you're going to inhale, use a breath. As you exhale, you're going to rotate, and then you're going to come back, and then you're going to rotate to the other side. Now, you can do a little crunch if you'd like, but that's a crunch. And you're pulling the oblique in, pulling that side waist muscle in, and when you come up tall, belly button is still in all the way from the pelvic floor up to that belly button, okay? So you're squeezing and then opening, and then you can do it with your hands out to the side, which is a little more advanced, okay? But that's an option too. So those are your torso rotations designed to strengthen those waist muscles, those oblique muscles. Now, this next one may seem quite basic, but it is the standing knee lift with core engagement. So what I tell my students when you do this, a lot of times our quads are a lot stronger than our lower pelvic floor and our abdominal muscles. So when we go to lift our legs, usually we're using our hip flexors and our quadriceps. So in this exercise, I tell my students, just try to let your legs go loose, okay? Let your quads go loose, hip flexors, and take your mind right to your abdominals. So from your pelvic floor up to the belly button, you're nice and strong, okay? You can hang on to a chair, that's perfectly fine, okay? Or you can take your hands out to the side or one on top of the other, whichever works for you. And then using the abdominals, not the tops of the thighs, you're going to lift and lower. Lift and lower. So I'm using my abdominals to lift my legs. Okay, so a little bit like a standing crunch, and I'm standing up tall this whole time. I'm not really bringing my chest down. That's not wrong, but you want to really try to be up tall and lifted on this exercise, okay? Again, you can do it seated perfectly fine. And the last one is the standing W arm squeeze with core tightening. Like Kristen mentioned, it's not just your front, it's also your back muscles that are important for our core strength. So I know a lot of you have seen this exercise. It's either called the cactus or the touchdown field goal position, okay? So we stand, again, feet shoulder width apart. You can do it in the chair, no problem, okay? You open up here, and now without arching, because we want to avoid that, okay? We want to keep the pelvis tucked under. Try to disengage the glutes here a little bit, and then we're going to pull the belly button in all the way down from the pelvic floor up to the belly button, and then you're going to press the tops of your hands backwards, wrapping your shoulder blades around the spine in the back, like someone's poking you right in the back with a finger, and you're trying to squeeze their finger, okay? Pulling your shoulders down and back, keeping that belly button in tight in the front, and then you release a bit, and then again, you can open up, wrap the shoulder blades around the spine and the back, and then release. So this helps strengthen your back muscles, helps improve your posture, keeping your chest lifted, all super important for our core. So those are just a few of the exercises and stretches that are in the standing core class. I know Emily has a lot more in her bag of tricks there, but those are just a few of what you can expect and see in that class. Now, say you're unsure, like Kristen said, you're not sure where you stand with your core. You don't know if it's weak or if it's how weak it is. So in the fitness department, we have a few assessments that we can do for you to see where that core strength actually is. And I know a lot of you have heard about the 30-second sit to stand. That is one of the assessments that not only assesses our leg endurance, but also our core endurance. Your core endurance plays a big role into that sit to stand. So we can perform that assessment for you, and the overall standard, or what you're looking for, is you fewer than 8 to 10 repetitions may suggest lower strength. So you can time yourself on your own time also, 30 seconds, set a timer, and see how many sit to stands you can do in 30 seconds. And if it's less than 8 to 10, then maybe you need to start to get into a core program. We also have our plank or modified plank. And I sort of chuckle at this because this can be hard for just the average person, okay? So you have where you can do the normal plank, where you can just go on your elbows with your feet extended behind you without your knees on the floor. Okay, that's hard for a majority of people. Or you can do the plank with your knees down. So that's the modified plank. And again, it shows core endurance, okay? And you want to aim for 10 to 30 seconds. This one I would recommend that if you think you can do it, you call on Emily or I to be there to assess you for that one, because it's a little more advanced, but it is included in our assessments. And the last one is the balance assessments that we offer. And I know you've seen these in your Thrive screens. You have the single leg stance, where you're going to see how long you can hold on each leg. And then, of course, your tandem stance, and you're going to see how long you can hold that. And that can tell you where you may need some help in your core stabilization. If your balance is off, you know, that can be a risk for you. So that's another assessment we also offer. And again, the goal is 10 to 15 seconds without wobbling or losing your balance. So those are the 3 assessments that's actually included in our toolkit of assessments that we can provide to you to see where you are with your core strength. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Emily or I. We're always available for you. And if you want an assessment, my contact information will be on one of these slides. You can reach out to us, and we have designated times where we can meet with you and talk about the assessments that we can provide you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, excellent. All right, so if there are any questions about any of this information, again, Melissa said you can send her an email. I've put her email up here. And then the number above that is our rehab department. So please, if you have any questions regarding your core strength, stability, any type of fitness assessment or a rehab assessment, please call that number or send Melissa an email. We all work very closely together, so together we can determine if fitness is more appropriate for you or if a rehab evaluation would be appropriate for you. Thank you very much.